Thank you for joining us today. My name is Matthew Bremen, and I'm the Global Director for the GYEO 2030 initiative. Making Sense is excited to have the Global Opportunity Youth Network here today and its partners. The webinar was about creating change at scale through solutions that are designed to tackle the root causes of youth unemployment. We have an exciting lineup. Before we get started, I'd like to briefly provide some context for this and the other GYEO solution sessions that have taken place over the past several weeks. I hope you've been able to join us for those. Since 2007, Making Sense has been convening the Global Youth Economic Opportunities Summit to share learning, develop partnerships, and advance economic opportunities for young people. The inequities that COVID and social justice movements have exposed have increased the need to accelerate change, particularly for young people, and it's become a turning point for our summit agenda. So we're transforming a bit our approach to include young people alongside adults in our activities, ensuring youth are co-designing solutions to their own problems, and not just serving as token representatives on panels. And you'll hear a great lineup today of that represents what I just said. We're expanding the dialogue as we're doing today beyond just the United States and Washington, D.C. And we seek to host or support convenings that are around the world over time that will engage young people and adults to discuss solutions to the SDGs, SDG 8 specifically, that are relevant in their context. And so during 2021-22, you see the list on this slide. We've been doing youth dialogues, solution sessions or webinars on key topics of interest to young people, and convenings, regional, global convenings, all part of a series of near-term activities that are designed to share the latest program lessons and gain commitment from actors globally to advance good practices within a common language framework of the SDGs, specifically for achievement of SDG 8, which, as you all know, is to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. We also plan to establish global convenings as annual touch points to track progress toward achievement of SDG 8. So stay tuned for all of that. I want to also thank our financial and in-kind contributions from our partners who joined us on this exciting journey that you see on this slide here. In addition to the Global Opportunity Youth Network today, I want to recognize Palladium, who's our global session partner, along with FHI 360 and Catholic Relief Services, who are regional session partners. I also want to acknowledge our first two local partners. You'll see on the slide, the Africa Skills Hub out of Ghana and the Latin American Leadership Academy out of Brazil and Colombia. And I know GOYN has their own network of local partners. We'll hear from some of them today. And Harambee is also a GYEO 2030 partner who also happens to be on this panel. So it's great to see everyone coming together and engaging, continuing to engage on these topics. There are organizations joining every day, so please let us know if you're interested in committing to GYEO 2030. Today, we're excited to have GOYN, the session titled Building Collaborative Infrastructure to Achieve Systems for Youth Employment. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome today's moderator, Nokubonga Gumbi, who will get us started. Over to you, Noku.
Thank you so much, Matthew, and good day, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. And thank you to the GYEO team for these fabulous conversations about getting us connected on some of the important work happening globally. GOYN is excited and delighted to be part of the GYEO 2030, and we're excited to welcome you all to this session, which is really about how do we build collaborative infrastructure to achieve systems change in the youth employment space. Like Matthew said, I am Noku from Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator, an anchor partner for GOYN in eThekwini, South Africa, and I'll be moderating this discussion today. So before we start, I'd like to just ask everyone to please remain muted and your cameras off during this presentation. And when we do move to the Q&A part of the session, I'll invite you to type your questions to the panelists, my lovely female panelists today, in the chat so that we can get engaging towards the end of this session. So we'll start the session by a very short presentation of GOYN and of the collaborative infrastructure model in GOYN, what it is, and we'll talk a bit about how it is being implemented. And then this will be followed by a moderated discussion with our three panelists, and we'll have about 15 minutes towards the end on Q&A, where we'll get to engage more with our panelists. So let's get started on GOYN, and then we'll talk a bit about the collaborative infrastructure. So GOYN is a fairly new initiative started in 2018 with the aim to address the systematic barriers that youth face in the youth and employment space. And the network itself has grown to now 9 communities in 7 countries, with presence in Latin America, in Africa, and India. GYN focuses on opportunity youth, which we define as young people aged 15 up to 29, who are out of school, unemployed, or working in informal jobs. These opportunity youth, or OY as we call them, represent a significant portion of youth population in these GYN communities. The GYN model is a collective impact model. So in each community, the objective is to bring together all stakeholders of the youth employment ecosystem. So everybody from public sector, the private sector, the skilling institutions, and young people themselves, who are the most important people in the role players in the ecosystem. And it brings all these stakeholders around one anchor partner to co-design sustainable long-term solutions to youth unemployment. And finally, GYN's vision and goals are really aligned with SDG 8, like Matthew said at the beginning, with the objective of really transforming the lives of 350,000 young people by 2030 in these communities, and connecting even many more young people to these opportunities. And next slide. Thank you, Cyril. And now let's talk about the actual model that we do this at GYN. The collaborative infrastructure is really the structure within the GYN community that enables the community to come together to look at the root causes of youth unemployment in that particular area, and to really design solutions to create change at scale for young people. It includes 5 key components of the infrastructure. So the first, you've got the anchor partner, which is the organization at the core of the model. The role of the anchor partner is to coordinate other stakeholders, convene and facilitate discussions with them that really drive the implementation of the strategy. And second component is the youth advisory group, which is a group of about 10 to 15 opportunity youth in that community that advises on the GOYN strategy and its implementation. And the third component is the multi-stakeholder advisory group, which is a group of about 10 to 15 senior representatives of ecosystem stakeholders, again, from government representatives, employers, skilling institutions, civil society organizations, etc., who similarly advise the GOYN strategy and its implementation, so working really closely with the anchor partner. And the fourth one is once the strategy has been developed, the collaborative then will set up working groups to drive the execution of the different initiatives under the strategy. And the working groups may include both the relevant stakeholders and the opportunity youth as appropriate. So again, young people at the core of this model. And finally, we have what we call the broader set of collaborative members that really participates in regular community consultations and dialogues to continue shaping GYN agenda and priorities in that local community. So these 5 groups clearly have clearly defined roles within the collaborative, and this clear structure is important to ensure transparency and accountability within the entire collaborative for GYN. Thanks, Cyril. So what then is the role of this collaborative infrastructure? So it really plays the 5 key roles within the GYN community. So number 1, it's about creating a shared vision of challenges and opportunities for young people in the community, and aligning all the stakeholders behind the same understanding of the problem and of the same goals. And secondly, it's about developing and jointly implementing the strategy. There is no one person working on this, but it's about leveraging the best suited partners for each intervention to go ahead and implement those. And the third one is really about coordinating stakeholders and creating accountability by asking stakeholders to commit to specific roles within the collaborative. And next is about collecting and sharing detailed data on youth unemployment to improve decision-making in that particular community. And finally, it's about leading in communications and advocacy efforts to change perception of youth in that community and encourage more investment in this segment of the population, especially to get them to transition to economic opportunities. So this was a very brief introduction of the collaborative infrastructure and GOYN and who we are. And I'd like to now move over to the discussion with my panel. Our panelists come from the 3 different GOYN communities who will give us who will really give us the opportunity to hear different perspective on how the collaborative infrastructure has been implemented in their own community. Like I said, the 5 different components. My panelists today all come from different components of this model. So we'll hear from them. So let me first introduce to you today my first panelist, Swati, who's from the Transform Rural India Foundation, which is the GOYN anchor partner in Ramgarh in the rural district in India. Swati leads our youth engagement activities for GYN in Ramgarh. Let's see if Swati is here. Great to have you here, Swati. And our second panelist for today is Asha Mohammed, an extremely accomplished young woman and activist who has been part of the youth advisory group that we fondly call YAG in GYN Mombasa in Kenya for the past year. Great to have you, Asha, with us as well. And panelist number 3 is Mariana, who's the executive strategy of Movimento, an alliance of organizations supporting Brazilian youth and a member of GOYN Sao Paulo multi-stakeholder advisory group. Like I said, very diverse panel today from these different components of the collaborative infrastructure of GOYN. And very encouraging to have a all-female panel for today's discussion. So let's get into it. So we'll start with just the basic question on the 3 of you, Asha, Swati, and Mariana, have been in deep and diverse experiences with youth interventions, both in your communities and outside of that. Can you tell us about what is really different about this GOYN collaborative infrastructure approach, and what personally attracted you to this work with GOYN in your community? Starting with you, Swati.
Thank you, Nuku, for your question. I would first like to mention what attracted me the most about GOYN. So there have been many interventions by the government and big development agencies focusing on women, farmers, and children, but the youth segment is almost left out in most of the programs. So GOYN is unique because it is all about the opportunity youth. And moving to the second part of your question, so there are 3 things that makes GOYN different from any other programs. First is the inclusion of youth voices. Second is the place-based approach. And third is GOYN's focus on collaboration. So in GOYN, youth voice is placed at the center of the program with the youth advisory group at its core. And the group plays a crucial part in designing local GOYN interventions and acts as an advisory group for inclusion of youth voice and youth-led actions on the ground. So, and the second unique thing about GOYN is the focus on bringing in place-based solutions. So each GOYN community goes through a research and evidence phase for the first 6 months after the kickoff, during which all the ecosystem actors and players are mapped with the like the government institutions, local agencies, financial institutions, etc. So this also enables GOYN to identify future partners who can be leveraged to support the opportunity youth. And this process also maps the skills and aspirations of the young people of the community, as this mapping exercise ensures that that any intervention design is based on rigorous data and evidence and grounded as per the needs of the community. And finally, GOYN takes a collaborative approach. So the multi-stakeholder advisory group consists of industry experts, representatives from the government, financial institutions, and all relevant stakeholders. And there are also working groups, which includes additional subject matter specialists and experts. So these structures shape the strategy of GOYN. So it's very much driven by the collaborative. Thank you.
Thank you. Fabulous. And you, Mariana?
Naku, thank you for the question. I want to celebrate our female panel and thank you all the team of GOYN Global and GOYN São Paulo. Dan is here, and congratulations you for the event and for increasing our awareness about the youth agenda all over the world. I'm a little bit nervous. My English sometimes not that good. So if you don't understand something that I've said, please let me know. I believe that there are some very good things about the GOYN's collaborative infrastructure approach. First of all, I think that having a big global and committed initiative as GOYN, bringing up the urgency to talk about youth employment and discussing collaborative impact is something so innovative that makes easier for the organizations like us that are in the local ecosystem to involve more people, organizations, and governments. The second thing that's very good from GOYN, I think, is work with research and data about youth and their different realities. When I first contacted GOYN, I have a conversation with Jamie. I was very happy to find a global initiative that was thinking from the beginning about how to bring evidences to make everyone talk about it. I think when we talk about youth based on these evidences, we can find more space to collaborate and to do things together. And complementing what Swat said, we know that youth is a complex and transversal agenda, and then unemployment is just the type of the iceberg. If you don't put all the sectors to understand the problem and to work together, we can't solve all the challenges that we are facing to develop youth. So I think the strategy to collaborate from the beginning of the process is also really connected with SDG 17 that promotes strengthening the means of the implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development and make possible to include youth in different places that GOYN is working all over the world. So I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you, Danny.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Mariana and Swati. Collaboration, data-driven, youth at the center of everything. Asha, how about you?
Thank you so much, Noku. And actually, as Swati had said, youth at GYN are the center, and we drive the agenda of GYN. And this has been seen in various ways. And an example we look at as youth, the Youth Advisory Group, our work is to advise GYN on what is happening on the ground and also help them mobilize the young people. You know, as young people, we get to know who are actually the opportunity youth at our local places. So we advise on the issues, mobilize, and also be a part and parcel of at the table that collaborate and come up with approaches in which we can find solutions towards the change. So it would not only give, but to sit at the table and discuss, so how can we now come up with the different solutions? So we come up with solutions together. We actually influence. An example is we had some funding that we got from GYN initiative through Youth Build, and as young, we sat in the committee to select the young people that would get the funding. You see, that is a plus. In some places, young people don't sit in such committees, you know. And then we also contributed to the theory of change and even the vision for Mombasa. We sit and say that this is what our young people say, this is what young people want, because the youth should be at the center. And if we cannot do that, then GYN has shown, and it's a story, or this should be a narrative each and every place that we go, and said that if GYN has proven to us that this can happen, then it should happen. Young people should be able to articulate the issues, say their issues, and come up with solutions or solutions towards the issues. And also one thing as GYN that is also different, to also focus on policy issues. We look at policy. An example, in Mombasa, we had a review on a number of policy and came up with recommendations and wrote a memorandum that we served it to the county government to see how best we can integrate the youth agenda, the youth issues within Mombasa, and come up with solutions towards them. Thank you, Noko.
common thing from all three of you that's coming up really importantly is this idea and this presence of the youth voice, and that youth engagement is really one of the most important pillars of the GOYN collaborative
All right, I think we have lost Noku. I'm sure she's going to join in a couple of seconds. In the meantime, I will ask the question. So as Noku was saying, youth engagement is a fundamental pillar of the GOYN approach. So Esha, could you tell us a bit more about what this youth engagement looks like on a day-to-day basis for you and your fellow advisory group members in Mombasa?
Yeah, so it looks as what being engaged as young people, that is people to come up with different solutions, and also look at ways to engage fellow young people, and also recommendations that we give. As we have talked about data is something that is very critical in GYN. We cannot just do things without having data, and data we say is power and information. So our young people have been trained. One thing is we have a database at Mombasa of young people. A research was done and we realized in Mombasa we have 373 young people who are not in school, not in education, and in training. So our, as YAG, we are now coming back to actually collect the data to see what are the young people, what do they want to do? And then when opportunity comes, the young people that stated that maybe they'd want to be trained on health, so they are placed in the health in a health training. If it's more on data, so they are placed. So that is one thing. We are able to come up with a base, or with a platform where young people could register with the various skills that they have, and that has led to us being capacity build. So we also come up with different trainings that we want to be trained on, depending on the market or depending on what is happening within the society. And then we suggest, so as YAG, we suggest different issues that we want to be trained on, or different opportunities that are there. And then we find ways in which we are capacity build. An example also is we were capacity build on issues and policies, because we saw that it's important that as young people, we hold leaders accountable within our particular region. We are also capacity build on project management. We are not only advising, but we also take central role in make sure that we implement some of the opportunities that come our way. So we wanted to be trained on how we can actually have or be able to do projects. So that is also one way that we are told. So now we can stand and do a project. An example is when we say an instance that we want to have a Twitter chat, and we didn't know maybe per se how to do it. So we'll be given everything available. If it is poster, will be made for poster, then it is asked to run the show. You see, so it becomes easier because through that we'll be able to learn, we'll be able to take lead, we are able to even grow our leadership skills as young people. In an instance when you go someone else, or when you seek employment, then start small skills or start skills you can be able to portray, you see. So also we mobilize, we help a lot in mobilizations as youth advisory group when there are activities, or when there are trainings. We help to identify young people that are eligible to be part and parcel of these trainings. Yes. I think Noku has left again.
Yes, I think Noku has dropped again. She's texting me that there are power cuts currently in South Africa. So I will continue the moderation. I'm Cyril from the GOYN Global team. And then we'll try to, I think she is back. Let's see. Noku, are you with us? Noku, over to you. All right, it looks like Noku may be still having some sound issues.
Thank you so much for that. Sorry, power cuts here and I just had to change my network. Thank you so much, Esha, for sharing what Cyril, can you hear me?
No, you dropped for 1 second. We just heard that. Do you want to try again? All right, Noku, I think we can't hear you for now. You're breaking in and out. Okay, I think she has dropped again. So while she reconnects, I will ask the next question. Shweti, we know that engaging young people meaningfully requires attention and support. So can you tell us a bit more about the support that you are providing young people in Ramgarh to ensure that they can leverage and own the space created for them by GOYN?
Thanks, Cyril. And let me start by giving an example here. So GYEO in Ramgarh was kicked off just in times of COVID. So there was a statewide lockdown with migrant returning crisis, as the state of Jharkhand is one of the largest exporter of wage labor across India. So there was a panic situation in the community as the migrants did not had any access to social security schemes of the government when they came back to their villages. And they were also deprived of any kind of livelihood interventions during the lockdown. So as an immediate response, we engaged with the young people, mainly from the youth advisory group, and trained them on how to collect household level data using mobile based applications, and with the data, how to make applications in the government offices using online services for availing various schemes. So building the capacities of the young people and involving them in field activities was a very crucial decision, as they know the community in and out better than us. So we just need to build the capacities, as Esha was also mentioning, and empower them to be leaders in their community. And with the efforts of the young people, we were able to develop an intervention for ensuring access to entitlement to around 3,000 odd households of the district. And this was also possible only because we were able to build the capacities of the young people. And we have also been organizing capacity building programs customized for the rural youth of Ramgarh around career readiness, digital literacy, soft skills, and have received a very good response from the rural youth. And with the suggestions, feedbacks, and inputs from the young members from the YAG, we have been able to build a program and launch a career readiness and counseling program for a broader set of rural youth to make them job ready. Thank you. Over to you, Cyril.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Swati.
Yep. Go ahead, Noku.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna try. So sorry, I'm gonna try do this off camera. My network dropped due to a power cut. And just let me know if you lose me again. So I think so much is being said about the importance of youth engagement, the prevalence of a youth advisory group in the GOYN's approach. And now coming back to you, Asha, because I think as a youth advisory group member, you've been in the YAG for more than a year now. Would you be able to give us some of the examples of the things that you and your colleagues at the GYN Mombasa YAG have been able to accomplish during this time?
Yeah, thank you so much, Noku. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, thank you so much, Noku. And we have been able to accomplish a number of things. And one, as I've stated earlier, is go through a number. We went through the fiscal policy where we looked at the issues surrounding young people and did a memorandum on the same. And also we went through another one where we are able to write a memorandum regarding on how they can levy or they can give a waiver for young people when they want to start their businesses so that they cannot pay or they won't pay licenses. At least they give them a waiver or they levy that for a while. And also we have been able to create a database for young people, a database where young people who register depending on their skills, they'll be able to match them to the different trainings that we've been having in Mombasa. An example is the other day we did training on data, where young people who have an interest in data, they were able to be trained, and some of them even went ahead and did a research on one of the strategies that we use, or which is on hospitality, to look at what are the skills or are the issues in the hospitality. And then also we've been able to have we've been able to have that Mercy. We launched Mercy. Mercy is Mombasa Entrepreneurship Resource Center for young people, which is a platform where a young person from Mombasa can actually go in and look at the opportunities within Mombasa County, and to be specific, the area that they're in. So an instance is if I want to look at opportunities on maybe health, or even a hub within my area. So I just log in, it's on the platform, and then I look at the hubs within my area where I can get information. Thank you, Arafat, for sharing. Arafat has shared the link for Mercy. You can actually check it out. It's a platform where young people in Mombasa can go through and get. So for us, that is a huge thing, and we believe through it will create a huge impact. In also with the database that we have, or the portal that we have. And also we have we've been able to have an interaction with very many young people, just to see how best you can skill them up on their leadership skills, or on different skills that they have. Noku.
Perfect, Asha. Thank you so much. All right, and then I think that is so much that has come out in just a year. And I think I love that you have informed this enablement in the platform and technology that is going to assist many, many OY in Mombasa. Now, turning it back to Mariana, let's talk about some of the key success factors that GYN Collaborative has had. And one important element is to manage and create the joint vision for the collaborative, and have a sense of a joint ownership within the collaborative members of the strategy. So Mariana, could you tell us more about how GYN Sao Paulo has worked to create this joint vision within the collaborative?
Yes, thank you, Naku, again. So good to hear about Asha and Swati, because our experiences of going so similar in the different places. I'm very happy about that. Here in Sao Paulo, we also faced the challenge of starting GOYN in the beginning of the pandemic crisis. So I think GOYN was very good to bring this methodology of assembling a diverse managing group that's able to mobilize and help to engage different stakeholders from all the sectors. We think we begin our process creating the youth advisory group that actively participate in the governance. I think it was the first thing that we did here, because we are we are thinking about this participation from the beginning, and support them to make that. So we train them to make the research and analysis from the beginning of the process. And we got to get together a big number of actors of the Sao Paulo ecosystem and organize that from all the stakeholders. So I think it was the first thing that we did here. It was very good. And we made a lot of workshops to plan and structure the paths of the GOYN here. And it was very new for all of us, because it was all online, and it's difficult to do that online. But I think GOYN Sao Paulo did a great job, and we got work groups, we shared vision and strategy to reach it. I believe that engage and farm actors and based on evidences, bringing the youth to the center, always reclaiming the space of planning together as the process and the variables change, is a process that ensures a joint vision and a sense of belonging for all collaborative members. Besides that, I believe that ensuring constant communication, informative and engaging, makes sure that the collaborative organizations keep themselves informed engaged and able to work with us.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mariana. And turning back to you, Swati, because the challenges that the OY face and that the GYN team seeks to address us. GYN needs to leverage its partners across the whole ecosystem to have an impact rather than directly implement programs. Could you give us examples or one example of what this looks like in Ramgarh?
Yes, Nuku. So GOYN is about addressing problems at scale. And in Ramgarh context, we have good relationships with the government administration, local education institutions, local civil society organizations, etc. So in the short span, we have been able to create a good ecosystem locally. And these ecosystem collaborators have been instrumental in driving GOYN efforts in Ramgarh. As we also brought new partnerships to support our collaborators. For example, the district government college is one of our important partners, as it is the only government college present in the entire district. And we have established a partnership with the government college to connect young people with employment opportunities by organizing employment fairs, placement drives, etc. And as 80% of the college students are first from their family to be in education. So after engaging with the college students for some time, we realized much work needs to be done on the agency building part. As a result, we partnered with Edeltai Foundation, which has around 10 plus years of experience working on building the capacities of the young people across the country. And this partnership added much value to the existing work, as now the young people are aware of the existing skills and of how improving certain skills will improve their chances of landing with a better job and livelihoods option. Also, now the young people, they are able to choose career path matching with their aspirations, interest, inclination, and aptitude. And we're also linking them up with support services and opportunities such as scholarships, skill development programs, internships, and apprenticeship opportunities, and more. Through these partnership efforts, we'll be engaging with 700 young people for the first year and help them land with better opportunities, either through job or self-employment opportunities. So this has also strengthened our existing partnership with the college, as in the process we have been able to build the capacities of the college staff by ensuring the faculty members have the capacity to guide and mentor the students, be updated on about the demands of the job market. And through our efforts, we regularly provide them with market requirement data, etc. So in brief, through this model, each partner brings their expertise, and GOYN's role is to bring all these partners together to work on problem at a scale. Over.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for that, Swati. I mean, listening to you, all three of you, I mean, I imagine that another challenge that collaboratives can face is the power imbalances between the different stakeholders in terms of just who has got more influence and power within the ecosystem. So Mariana, turning it back to you, could you tell us a bit more about the way GYN Sao Paulo dealt with these power imbalances?
Yes, it's a very difficult question, isn't it? When you're talking about collaborative things, it's something that we are always talking about, isn't it, Danny? I think that GOYN São Paulo has some strategies that are especially good in facing the power imbalances. First of all, as we have a giant vision, as I said, our stakeholders understand that if you want to achieve our goals and to structurally transform and include the youths in a sustainable way, we have to work to facilitate this process. In this sense, the stakeholder will have to give in their individual strategies and longings to share and support our collaborative strategy. I think it's the first thing. The methodology facilitates this because when we build and plan together from the beginning, as I said too, sharing our goal and making things together, it gets more difficult for an organization or the government or other stakeholder to overlap the collaborative effort. A last point that I want to highlight in that GOYN's methodology also organized the training for groups to strengthen themselves, to make their participation easier and to balance the power in the collaborative. This is especially good when we are talking about the youth advisory group. I think it's very important to say about that. We support the youth bringing their points on a strategy that we call young people at the center, as Asha said too. Thank you.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, yeah, I think that is absolutely right. I think one of the mottos within the amongst young people in GYN is nothing about us without us. So that definitely goes, that saying goes a very long way in informing a lot happens within that pillar. So I'm gonna turn it back to you, Swati, just as we look forward to wrapping this conversation up. Is one of the main challenges of the collaborative or collective impact structures is that they need to sustain the momentum over time. And everyone is usually very excited at the beginning, and less so when the hard work begins. So would you tell us what are some of the ways in which GYN Ramga has managed to sustain the energy of the entire collaborative after more than a year of implementation for you?
Nuku, as very rightly pointed out by you, everyone is usually excited in the beginning and less so when the hard work begins. So every collaborative member has different focus areas, which does not necessarily overlap with our priorities. And at times, the approach of the collaborative wants to take might be very different from our working principles. And also, it's a time-intensive process to gain trust, to build partnerships, understand the priorities of the collaboratives, and regularly put dedicated efforts in engaging with them, which they should value. So, for example, regularly engaging with the local industrialist association will be very different from engaging with the government departments. Their focus areas would be different, approach might be very different. And our engagement with the collaborative should be something valuable to them. Otherwise, the collaborative will never be self-driven. And to show value in what we are doing, we need to regularly engage with our collaborators, listen to their pain points, understand their priorities, and also keep them, updated with GOYN's work regularly. So there may be some few overlapping areas, concerns where one collaborator can benefit from the other, and definitely few areas where we can support the collaborators by bringing in new partnerships, hence adding value to their systems. So in Ramgarh, I ensure that I meet all the collaborators personally every week, keep them updated about our plans, actions, and new partnerships. And all the collaborators, they meet every month. So these are informal catch-ups, which can be over a youth event where they see the impact of their collaboration. As there is a saying that seeing is believing. So we make sure that the collaborators attend these events, engage with the young people. And so these are the few ways we have been successful at keeping up the momentum going.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Swati, for that. I think at this point, before we get to the last point of our conversation, I'd like to invite the audience, if you've got any questions, any comments for our lovely panel, to please post them in the chat, and we'll use the next few minutes to chat through those. But I think just Esha, Mariana, Swati, such an incredible conversation. What is the biggest impact that GOYN has made in your community? So we'll start with you, Swati, and then Mariana, and then Esha.
So we have been able to bring various organizations together to start bridging the gap between simply giving benefits and actually empowering the opportunity youth. So, and bringing organizations like Standard Chartered Bank Foundation, which is one of the largest foundation of the country, Rangsutra, specializing working with bamboo artisans for value chain and marketing, Hedel Foundation for working with the rural youth on building the capacities, making them job ready, and working with their mindsets. We have also formed a collaborative network of financial institutions and government departments. So bringing all the organizations and institutions together and initiating a dialogue has started to show some impact, as there's better coordination between the stakeholders. Simply having these conversations between us brings more convergence and alignment within the ecosystem in Ramgarh.
Amazing. Mariana?
Yes. I believe that GOYN São Paulo organized our RX system and produced good evidence with and about the local youths that are in vulnerable situations, and was able to engage different actors, as Swati was saying, including the city hall in this process. Beyond the initial diagnosis that we made, recently launched in partnership with the City Hall too, and specific analysis about the impact of the pandemic in the lives of the youths. So it was very good, a big event that Danny organized with her team. Constantly feeding the ecosystem with this evidence put GOYN as a specialist, increasingly engaging the actors and bringing a logic about how to work as a network with the youths in the center and based on evidence as a culture. So I think that's one of 2 points.
Amazing. Asha?
Thank you so much, Noku. And for me is for the realization that youth issues cannot be worked in silos. And that is why you've seen the collaborative structures that we have to work together if we intend to solve youth issues, and also creating an avenue where young people can learn, make mistakes, and also grow from their mistakes, you know. And also it's not just about skills development or opportunities, it's more about love, it's more about seeing how young people can develop their talents, how young people can become better, or we can just leave this place but a better person. It doesn't have to be even about the opportunity, but the well-being of that person, and also creating a culture where young people or youth engagement is not just looked upon as participants. Young people are not just looked upon as participants or as beneficiaries, but as stakeholders, as partners. And that you see, that's why you're seeing me here, because they are, as GYEO, we believe that young people can deliver, young people can give what they're supposed to give, and that's why there is involvement of young people in each and everything, and even in the co-designing of the vision and the strategy of GYN. So that is how much of an impact GYN has, not only to me but also to the young people. And last but not least, the culture of data and the importance of information, and knowing that information is power and you cannot work without information. So all these have brought about a change within our society to look differently on young people, not only as vulnerable, not only as second-class citizens, but also as stakeholders, as partners, as people that can be given and be listened to. Thank you.
Amazing. And I'm not sure if I'm still audible. Thank you, Esha, for that. Young people are not just beneficiaries; we are designers and partners and stakeholders in this work. So I've got a question for you. One question from Bobby, who's saying, "Great to have you as panelists. What is the value? Let me get that right. What is the value that the ecosystem partners are currently seeing in the GYN network in your countries?" Maybe I'll take one person who's able to answer this, and then we'll move on to the next question because of time. So the value that the ecosystem partners are currently seeing in the GYN network in your communities. So maybe between Swati and Mariana, any one of you can get this one, because the next one is specifically for Esha.
You can go, Swati, please.
Perfect.
Thanks, Mariana. Yeah. So I can talk about Ramgarh context. So as we have started to engage with the ecosystem partners, for example, you know, the local industrial association. So we have been engaging with them around how we can engage our young people who are interested in employment opportunities locally. And these industry association, you know, initially they were reluctant. They did not buy the idea of, you know, of taking in local young people because of various issues, like, you know, abiding the government standards, like, like following all the rules and regulations. So initially they were hesitant, but then we, after various rounds of interactions and meetings, we convinced them that the young people with whom we are engaging, we are building the capacities, and and they are ready for the kind of work or technical expertise which they are looking. And initially we requested them that we organized few interactive sessions according to their requirement. For example, they wanted technicians, for example, fitters. Yeah, so we mobilized a group of young people who already have a education degree around it, worked with them on how to build the capacities, brush up their skills, so that they basically as per their standards, as per their requirements, as per the requirements of the market. Yeah, so they were, so the industrialist, so the industrial association, they were happy with the first batch, and now we have a very good relationship with them. Yeah, because now they are convinced that if they partner with us, and and if they take our young people, the young people with whom we have been engaging, so they get good resources. Yeah, so this
Amazing.
was just one example.
Amazing. I love that example, Swati. It's very practical, really shows and illustrates the power of collaboration within Ramgar. And we're going to wrap up with Esha, because I think the one thing that is coming across as explicitly unique to GYN is this idea of having young people at the table as partners and stakeholders. So Esha, just first, if you can share how has GYN helped you grow and develop professionally as a person, and then when you think about that, I think another question that came up for you is how the youth advisory group members are ensuring that they are engaging with the wider youth in Mombasa outside just the YAG, which I think you have shared some of that. So if you could highlight what are you as the YAG doing with young people? But let's just start with you as a professional. How has this process grown you?
Thank you so much. So basically, how fast I became part of GYN is I led a team of young people in creating awareness on COVID-19. And to me, that was a plus. Why? Because it showed me how powerful I am in terms of leadership and my leadership skills. And through it, I have my own organization. And also, as I said, I'm part of the health, I'm part and parcel in the committee of health, where we look at skills within the health pathway or the health strategy, where young people can be able to be skilled and get opportunities within the health pathway. And through that, I have my own organization or an initiative. It's called Her Narrative, where we use the power of storytelling to articulate issues of gender-based violence, issue of reproductive health and rights, and even leadership and governance. So to me, GYN has shaped my career or in community engagement, and also in my leadership itself. I was also newly appointed in the National Youth Council Board, that is, I influence issues around young people at national level, where I sit and advise. You see, so that is a huge thing, and you just don't come up, or you just don't sit and come up and become a leader. You start somewhere, and these small things that we do, or these small acts that I have been doing all throughout, has enabled me to be able to sit in different positions and even speak the way I speak right now. So that is my story, and you never know what's coming next. And through GYN, I've seen so many opportunities come. I have seen a number of young people getting employment and also getting different opportunities through it. So it is a platform for me to grow and create my own narrative again, where we have an avenue to learn, make mistakes, and also learn again and relearn and then learn. So that is a plus. And then the second, on how young members are ensuring that we engage the wider Mombasa. So as I said, we are not restricted just to become youth advisory group members. We are allowed, because it's a volunteer role actually. So we are allowed to venture out. To get opportunities through the different stakeholders meetings that we're having, because we also take part in them through such opportunities that we are having right now. You never know who is watching. So you get through these, you're able to see a wider community of young people. So I myself, I various community organizations, because that is where we're looking at. And also the youth the GYN, we also work with hubs within the Mombasa County. So in as much as the GYN is anchored at Swahili Port Hub, we have different places within Mombasa where we have different organizations as hubs. So as a young person, if you feel that Swahili Port is very far, so you just go to the nearest hub, get the recent information or what you want, and also use the hub for your own space. Another thing, as young members, we are allowed to come up with activities, as I said. So we come up with activities of what we want. And then through our youth engagement officer, who is James, who is right here, he's able to push for us to have our activities depending on the vision and also on the GIN initiative and what we are supposed to do and our mandate as young members. So it is not actually restricted because we are there to learn, but also go back and bring more people and mentor other people to be part and parcel of this wider community that we have started, and we have seen it work.
Amazing. I love that. And it really sounds like you have taken space as a young person, as a youth leader, and you are creating that space for other young people within the youth advisory group and the greater Mombasa County as well. So thank you so much. I think we are going to end right here. Thank you to you, Swati, Asha, and Mariana, and all the GYN partners who are on this call. And it's been an incredible, really incredible space to just learn about the collaborative infrastructure approach of GYN and why it is so unique and why it is really important in solving for youth unemployment for young people. And I think just a gift from us as GYN, we had hoped to show this video live, but because of time and we really want to be great partners to GYEO, so we're going to stop here, but you can feel free to please follow the link that Cyrielle has posted in the chat that really showcases the GYN Sao Paulo Opportunity Youth and their incredible energy and their engagement in the work. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much to my lovely panelists. And and thank you so much to GYEO 2030, and turn it back to you, Matthew.
Great, thank you, Noku, for moderating today's session and navigating power cuts in South Africa in the process. I know it's not easy. You know, I also want to thank terrific speakers. I mean, the great chat here, the great engagement, great discussion, Swati, Esha, and Mariana, for pushing the Opportunity Youth agenda in their respective countries in terrific ways. The key theme for me that came out was the importance of collaboration, educating and informing the ecosystem of stakeholders so they understand the value of keeping youth and youth voice at the center of all activities, from research to informing design and delivery of programming, which also helps them look good, all your community stakeholders in the process, and all keys to scaling. So, you know, the GYEO 2030 initiative has similar objectives and is excited to continue growing our partnership with GOYN and its partners across Africa, Latin America, and India. There's so much work ahead. You know, I think, you know, we look forward to doing it together, to growing together, learning together. So for those unable to attend today, know that we will be uploading recordings of this and other solution sessions on our website in the coming weeks. So let people know about that. I'm going to drop in the chat here some information about GYEO 2030 and our lineup. You can click on the link here for the lineup of our last couple sessions next week. You can find those details about the sessions, but also about our initiative through those links. And lastly, just to note, this is the beginning. GYEO 2030 has a long-term vision and horizon, 2030, tied to the SDGs, the scalable solutions that are being shared in sessions such as today over the past couple months, together with key outcomes from the youth dialogues that are also happening, will inform future conversations that we convene among our community of adults and young people who'll discuss tangible actions to take as we strive to hold the GYEO ecosystem of actors accountable to achieving SDG 8. So stay tuned for upcoming events in 2022. And with that, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your days, your afternoon, your evening, and weekend. So thank you, everyone.